Photoshop is a huge product, but it actually has a lot of supporting products that work with it, like the bridge and the mini bridge and some extensions and supporting websites as well as third-party plugins. So we're going to take a closer look at ways that you can work beyond Photoshop to actually facilitate what you're doing in that product. So as I'm looking here at Photoshop, looks fine. But I'm going to go ahead to File, and I can see a feature in here called Browse in Bridge. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And the Bridge is a separate program, but it comes free with your Adobe product. So when you have a product like Photoshop, you get the Bridge. And there's different versions of the Bridge as well. This is CS6, but you can even have a bridge that was a CS5 bridge or something like that. And as I'm looking here at the bridge, I'm actually able to see my images, and I love the fact that it's a nice thumbnail of these images. It also gives me options for choosing folders. I can designate favorites, for example, the My Documents. I can also browse as if I were in Windows Explorer or my File Manager. I can use different tools for filtering. So if I had a lot of image I was looking at, I could actually filter it down. I could even set up collections. The collections allow me to make shortcuts for files that I want to find quickly, but that doesn't move information. I can move down here and actually create a new collection. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. And I'll call this Ads. And if I move back over to my folder here where I'm keeping my stuff, if I had different items I want to put in my ads, I simply drag them over. Notice it didn't move it out. It just allows me to quickly find it. These items are still located in the original folder, but I can quickly find them. And also handy because I might have stuff from different folders. I might have some logos, for example, that I want to drag in. Oops, try this again. Let's just move that. There we go. Move that in there. So that's a nice collection that I could create. There's another feature called Smart Collection, and the Smart Collection allows you to create a filter so that instead of you dragging items in as certain criteria are met, for example, there's a keyword, then those items would automatically show up in that collection. I'm going to go ahead and choose Cancel here. But that's a nice way to organize your information and access your information. Also here, when I'm in the bridge, if I click on the picture, I can just slide this panel a little lot farther so I can see it. I can see the image, I can see the details. I'm going to hold down Shift, and I can even have multiple files selected and get details about them. And then with the details, I can even see things such as the information about that particular file before I open it up. I have some options for changing the view. So really what this is, it's like a deluxe open. When you right-click on an image, you have the option to open it right away, and that would open the default product. In this case, it'd be Photoshop. Or I can even choose some options depending on what's installed on your system. You have some options to open it up. There's also this feature to open up in Camera Raw, and Camera Raw is a way to have more details for photo editing and color correcting. So the actual bridge itself gives you some options for what product you're going to use to open it up. But if I had a product, for example, move in here to logos, that is a Illustrator file, then when I use the bridge, it knows to, by default, open it up in Illustrator as opposed to Photoshop. So that's really handy that the bridge does some of that work for me. Now, I'm going to go ahead and come back here to Photoshop. Notice that the bridge is actually just a separate product. In addition to the bridge, we also have what's called the mini bridge. And the mini bridge is going to look like a panel. And what you might have used if you've used Photoshop before is the mini bridge being a panel over on the docks over here. But now it's docked to the bottom. And I can still use it like I'm using the bridge. I can scroll to a particular folder. I can see my thumbnail path that I'm in the CS6 files right now. And let me just try to get my mouse here. I can zoom through. And if there's a particular picture that I want to use, for example, here's one of the city streets, I have an option. I can drag it up towards the files, put it in here, and it's going to launch the picture for me. So now I have that opened up. I could also, if I come here to balloons, I could drag it into the file, and it's going to open up as a smart object or place. I'm just going to press enter, and now it's placed in the image as part of that original image, and I can work with it. So again, it depends on where I'm dragging it. But this is the mini bridge. It's related to the bridge. It's just built right into Photoshop, and instead of being a separate application, it's really more of a view. You can double click on mini bridge and it hides it. So you can turn it on and off just by hiding it, and you don't really have to use this browse and bridge, browse and mini bridge. It's just an option if you want to get there. Now, besides the bridge and the mini bridge, there's also things like third-party tools and plugins and different support tools. And let me highlight a few of them for you. I'm going to go down here to some websites I've opened up. One is called the Adobe Photoshop Touch. Now, these are third-party tools. You buy them separately, but these are some new features that have been added to Photoshop to allow you to have enhanced work with some of your smartphones and tablets. And so they give you some more tools that will take advantage of the touch features in smartphones and tablets. You also have a website here called the Photoshop Exchange website. And the Photoshop Exchange is a nice way to enhance what you're doing in Photoshop. For example, add in more actions or brushes or different gradients or patterns. And this is a huge community of Photoshop users, and many of these features are free, and some of them are for a cost, but a very small, affordable cost. Let's go ahead and minimize all these pieces. So what you have is the Adobe Bridge and the Mini Bridge, the Camera Raw, different websites like the Exchange, and just Adobe website itself that gives you access to other ways that you can supplement what you're doing in Photoshop by using these additional features.